Hi, I'm Mrs. McDonald, and I'm here. I'm going to show you how to make a worm jar. I read a lot of different articles, and they had a lot of different suggestions, different types of bottles, different types of holes in the lids, different types of dirt, different types of worm food, different ways to get the worms, but this is what I came up with for me. 3 different types of dirt, because I wanted to be able to see how, if the worms are able to mix it all together to make it into one. I have 3 different types of worm food, quote unquote. One is like a mixture of coffee grounds and eggshells. One is some cereal, and one is an old apple core that I'm going to cut up. I have a jar. I used a glass jar and then I'm using the lid and a piece of screen. You're able to poke holes in a lid. I just happen to have the screen available, so I thought it would be a nice way to make sure that my worms had plenty of air. You don't want to suffocate your worms. Probably won't have a very good success story if you do. And then I made ahead of time the cover for my jar. I just decorated it because after we put the worms in, we have to cover it so that it's dark in there. And I have a ruler because I decided to measure my worms before I put it in. A piece of paper to record the layers that I put into my jar as I put them in. And of course, worms. So here I go. I'll start to make it. First, I'm going to put some dirt that I got from our aged manure pile. So this is kind of like a compost that we sometimes add scraps and things to, but it's mostly very, very aged manure that looks like really, really good dirt. On my paper as I go, like I said, I'm going to write down what I put. So at the bottom, I'm putting compost. And then I'm going to put a layer of Cheerios. I've seen it where it said oatmeal, things like that. I happen to have stale Cheerios that unfortunately we didn't eat. So I thought, hey, I'll be able to see them. And I thought it would be really good to be able to see the layer so that whenever it gets mixed up, I can tell that something's been done. Okay, then next I'm going to put some like real dirt. This is just some dirt from our garden. And it's pretty good dirt, but it's not great dirt. It's in some chunks, but I think that's kind of good because it'll show how those worms dig tunnels and they help the air to circulate. So I'm going to end there because I don't want to have it too full. I want to leave just a little bit of room at the top after I'm done. Then I'm going to put some apple in here, and I had a knife out here. Here it is. I'm just going to cut it up a little bit. Oh, and over here where I'm cutting, I don't know if you can see it or not, but I brought 2 coffee filters out, and I just got them wet because I'm going to lay my worms on there while I measure them, and they really need to be damp because worms breathe through their skin, and they need moisture on their skin, and I don't want them to get dry, even though it's only a few moments. I just want them to be comfortable. I don't want to feel like I'm abusing worms. That would be bad. So I'm putting some apples, and then I have some organic potting soil, and I'm going to put that in there on top. You can see that it's even a different color. And I'm really curious what the worms are going to do with all this. I'm not going to look at it for a whole week, because I want to see what happens in a week. Whenever I've read it, a lot of them look in 2 weeks, so I'm probably going to look in 1 week and then in 2 weeks. And I will record what happens like a little scientist. It's one thing I'm using to help the kids learn how to make observations, see if they see tunnels, just to give them different experiences with observation, with measuring and drawing and collecting data. Next, I'm going to put a layer of the eggshells and coffee grounds. We always collect our eggshells and we smash them up and we throw them in our garden. And I didn't even know that you should save coffee grounds and put those in your pile, or I would have been doing it for a long time. So one new thing I learned through my research of making the worm jars is that we should also be saving our coffee grounds, which I don't drink coffee, but my husband and one of my sons drinks coffee, so I saved that. Now I'm not going to go any further. I don't want to go all the way up. It's up to here because I want to have a little space there. Just it makes me feel like there's more air. Now all my dirt is moist. You'll want to make sure it's moist. I'm going to add a little bit of water because the worms need to be in a moist environment, but you don't want them to drown. They can actually drown. So they can have moisture. They have a nice little home here. And I'm not going to keep them there forever. After 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, I'm going to put them probably in my garden. So next thing, after I write my layers, I drew my little picture. And then the other thing I'm going to record on this page is how big my worms are. Well, I collected my worms out of my garden. Some people, when they do this, they have to order worms, but I didn't. So here's one of my worms. See that? Nice and moist because I left him in there for a few days, but I made sure he was moist. And when you measure them, they're wiggly, so it's kind of hard to get it really accurate, but they kind of stretch out and then shrink up, and then stretch out and shrink up. So I'm just measuring the biggest it gets, which this one's like 4 and a, whoops, oh my goodness, it's going. Oh my goodness, here. 3.5 inches. So I'm going to put that this one's 3.5 inches. And then I'm going to put it right there in my jar. And I'm going to write down 3.5 inches. Of course, I'm not sure which one was which. This one, oh, I'd say is about, come on, stretch out, little worm. Stretches out to 2 inches. So I'm going to write down 2 inches, and I'm putting it in here in the jar. 2 worms are both male and female, and so you have to have at least 2 worms to mate. Oh, this is pretty cool. I'm going to have to show you what it looks like in the top. These worms, one of them's heading down. You've got to see this because it's heading down the outside. I don't know. Can you see this? Let's see. Here it goes. It's traveling down here. It's kind of deciding it's going to hide. This is what it looks like from the top. And I guess I just have 2 worms. I might go out to the garden and get one more. Well, that didn't take me very long. I found another worm. I wanted to get one that was kind of big. I didn't find any huge ones, but I found like 4 of them right away, about this size, which it's kind of a little fat worm. It's not super long, but it's a little chubby. This is a good time of the year to find worms because the soil is so moist. They're up near the top. I didn't have to like dig way down. During the dry season, they go deep so that they're in the moisture. Both. This one's stretching out to 3 inch. I'm going to write 3 inches for this one, and a little chubby, and I'm going to put it on in there. I just think that this jar is enough work for 3 of them at least. So 3 inch, I'm going to put chubby next to it. Chubby guy, okay? And that's about it. So the last thing I'm going to, before I put the lid on, is I'm going to take a picture. So there, I took the photo of my jar, and now I'm ready to put the lid on it. So here's the lid, and then after the lid, and like I said, it does have a screen, so there's air at the top. I'm going to tape the dark around it because they like dark. Then they'll go and they'll make little tunnels, otherwise called burrows. So here I just decorated it because I thought that would be more interesting to look at than just blank paper. I have some tape. You could just put a rubber band around it. Whatever works for you, whatever resources you have available. So I'm going to tape this around it, and then looks like it has a little grass. See how they're under the grass? There's my worms. I put my name on it. You want that for if you do a project. I'm going to add a little bit more water. So there, I'm done, and I'm going to let it sit for a week, and in a week I'll let you see it again and see what happened, okay? I'm excited. I hope you are too. See you in a week. Bye.